Hey everyone.
I'm Jane.
I'm Kitten.
As you know, my name is Pat. It's that time again. It's time for another episode of the Kinky Christian Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the perfect beginning, isn't it?
All right.
So if you heard that and then you're watching us, and that means you found another episode of the Kinky Christian Podcast. Oh yeah. Production value of this is like sometimes questionable.
That was hilarious.
I'm Pat, and with me as always.
Hi, I'm Kitten.
So we are going to continue today with our series, Genesis of Sex. I'm really enjoying this series. I don't know if Kitten is or not, but I am. We are getting some positive feedback on this series, which I ain't gonna lie, kind of surprised me a little bit. I was really, I guess I assumed or mispresumed who was actually like watching and listening to us. I figured it'd be more the Kingsters and less the Christians. However, I'm finding it's a good mix of both, which is what we wanted. We wanted to hit both the Kingsters and the Christians. So
Hence the name, Kinky Christian.
correct. So yeah, we're getting a lot of good feedback on this series, which is good to hear. So we're just going to keep sprinkling it in with other topics. I don't know. There might be times you get more of this and less other topics. It depends on what we have to talk about and if we think we can make a good episode or if we're educated enough to talk about it. So
Therein lies the problem.
yeah, educating ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to do when our time is as limited as ours is. We have very busy lifestyle schedules, which is why this only comes out every 2 weeks. And there, as you notice, are times when doesn't even hit every 2 weeks. So, but we're trying. We're trying to be consistent. But before we get started on our next episode, or this episode, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, I know I told you guys I have a theologian friend, and I'm not going to, I call him a friend. He's a watcher of the podcast, super cool. And he is a theologian. So I don't want to use his name, but I feel weird always saying my theologian friend so I'm just, to make it easy, I'm going to call him Theo. Makes sense, right?
Sure.
So a few episodes ago, we were talking about how Moses, or not Moses, why did I say Moses? We're not even to Moses yet. Abraham was having Sarah say that she's his sister. Remember all that?
I do.
And we're like, what's up with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Theo, I knew.
Theo.
Yeah. That's not his real name,
No,
but that's what I'm going to call him for theologian.
that works.
Theo, I knew he would. I can rely on him. Wrote in and kind of gave me some insight to this. So I want to share that before we get started on what we got next. So one thing with Theo, he wants, just a few reminders. One, his background is more the academic and not the pastoral when it comes to theology. So he was studying more for the history of what's going on in the Bible and what was going on at the times and why things happen the way they happen, and less about the religious aspect of it. So he said, keep that in mind. So his study wasn't so much the Bible, but he does know historically. And he got his degree 20 plus some odd years ago. So he said his knowledge might be somewhat dated in case they've discovered something new. So he just wanted to preface what he has to say with a few things. So as far as Abraham with his sister, he told me that Abraham is kind of like the modern day, I can't see that, Bedouin? My eyes are bad. His main source of income is transporting other people's goods for money. He doesn't actually own what he's transporting. When Abraham is offering his wife up to people, the story is communicating that he will do what he has to deliver your goods safely and get the sales price of the goods back to you. So that's his take on why Abraham would do that.
So, just so I understand, the fact that he gave up his wife as his sister is saying that he is going to...
It's basically saying that Abraham will do, he wants people to know he will do whatever it takes to get your stuff sold.
Even give up his wife.
Correct. It's that kind of, you can trust me because I will do whatever it takes, even if it means
Lying.
and getting, well, he didn't really lie because Sarah's his sister from another mister.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing, Anna?
Working on my dating profile.
What the heck is that?
I have, it's an ad.
On a Tempur-Pedic mattress I got at Mattress Firm. It's got full
Huh.
technology.
That was odd. I've never had that happen.
It's an ad. It's muted. We're good.
What are you doing, Nana? So that is his
I'm buying
take
a new mattress.
historically on why Abraham would do something like that. So
Okay.
thank you, Theo. Appreciate it, as always. So on to where we're at
In our story.
in our biblical sex search. So the genesis of
That
sex.
just sounds so wrong.
What's that?
Our biblical sex search. Just,
Is that inappropriate?
I don't know, it just feels so wrong.
All right. Well, I was just trying to
Yeah, I know.
communicate. So we're in Genesis 22 now. And are you going to... I need the full chapter, please.
Not the full chapter?
Well, yeah, because that way I can explain what's going on before and after. Just hit read full chapter at the bottom there and take us down to 20. So we're in Genesis 22,
That is the beginning.
20 to 24. And this is talking about Nahor's son. Sons. Sound like a snake.
I mean, we have one.
Right. All right. So starting at verse 20, it says, Now after these things it was told to Abraham, Behold, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz, his firstborn, Booz, his brother, Kemuel, the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jipleph, and Bethuel. Bethuel fathered Rebekah. That's just a little insight there. So these 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Moreover, his concubine, whose name was Remuah, bore Teba, Gahim, Tahash, and Makkah. So I added that because I'm trying to be thorough here. And it shows still he has a wife and he has a concubine. And they mention the concubine and son's names in the Bible. And so it's not like the concubine was some mistress sitting off in the corner and her sons are illegitimate, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a legitimate thing in this time to have multiple wives and multiple concubines, and it says, here's their names. These are his sons. So I just wanted to add that.
That it was important.
That it was important enough to add in the Bible that concubines were there. There was no sin involved. There was no evil doing. There was no wrongdoing. And their sons were their kids. I mean, I know they mentioned mostly sons, but this also said, Bethuel fathered Rebecca. So they do talk about important women in the dot,
And the only reason she was important in this case is because of the son that she bore.
Correct.
Because back then,
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
women didn't matter. But
Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't say they didn't matter. They just were not part of what they considered the lineage
yeah.
yet.
I mean, there's a few, but
Yeah, the important ones.
right.
So that's why I added that. Nothing more than that. Don't read into it. It was just, I saw that it was talking about, biblical relationships, biblical sex, biblical everything. So there are still concubines at the time. Now we're going to jump ahead to Genesis 25, and we're going to start right at the beginning of it. So, and right off the bat, what's it say?
Abraham had taken another wife, whose name was Keturah.
So
That's what, 2 now?
he's got at least 2 that,
2 wives and a concubine.
well,
Well,
but
Sarah.
didn't he marry, if I remember right, didn't Sarah give him,
she gave him
To-
her, but not to be his
Oh,
wife.
I thought it's,
just to have sex with her,
oh,
to try and get a child.
I thought,
No,
I
not
thought
that I
it-
recall.
I thought
There
it
was no
said that.
marriage.
I thought he took Hagar to be his wife. No?
He took her, but not to be his wife.
Well,
At
I know
least
he took
that's-
her. So yeah, right off the bat, it says Abraham took another wife. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Tushites, and the Luamites. The sons of Midian were, I can go on, Ephah, Ever, Hanak, Abida, and that. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines. Concubines. And sent them away from his son Isaac to the land to the east. So again, here we go.
Okay. The first thing that pops into my mind about this entire thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've gone to church a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've-
Many different churches,
many-
we may add. She's
Yes, many different religions.
Yes.
I've tested a bulk of them. Never ever have I ever heard that Abraham had a wife named Keturah. Did you know that?
been not till I read it. This is what I'm saying. Think about this is why we started this podcast. We wanted to educate people, not just on BDSM, which is huge, but on what it means to be a Christian and understanding sex. Right?
Right.
Church does not touch on, they
They don't even gloss over
They
this.
ignore
They
it.
just ignore it
yeah,
completely.
completely.
So no wonder we're confused and we feel like what we're doing or how we're feeling is wrong because we're not being taught that
The whole Bible.
right, the whole Bible. Now, granted, I understand this is from a different time and based on laws that we are living by today, having multiple marriages is illegal. I understand that. But they're not even teaching us that
where it came from.
Where
And
it came from.
If we don't understand our past and our history, we're doomed to repeat it.
Right.
You know.
Not that having multiple wives is a doom. Let's
No,
correct that right now.
And here's another thing, and I'm sure some Christians will disagree with us, and that's fine. We haven't gotten all the way through the Bible yet, and we will as time goes, and we may start doing more of these. When you look at it from a standpoint of God and what God is about love.
Right.
God is about procreating.
Our dog is having a nightmare.
Imagine that going all night long in the bedroom. Oh. She okay?
She's okay.
She's okay. Okay.
Of course she's okay. Mommy gave her love.
You spoil her too much.
Yes.
So if and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this.
That's okay. At
But-
least it's male.
Yeah. If people, if men and women want to have multiple marriages or multiple concubines and everyone wants it, and they all love each other and it's all good, I think God already showed that he's okay with it.
Yeah, it's called polyamory.
Well, you got to be careful with polyamory because we'll find out later, even in the Old Testament, it's specific relationships you can have.
Right.
Polyamory can be a free-for-all, and that's not polyamory. You kind of come and go, and you can do it's a whole different thing than what the Bible's saying. The Bible is saying one man marries multiple wives and has concubines. That is one man with basically like a harem of women. Mm-hmm. Now, I do know Jesus changed that. We'll get to that. I don't want to spoil the ending for you. Because Jesus says marriage is between one man and one woman.
Correct.
And I'm good with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to argue any point here. I'm just saying that if you read the Bible, the church glosses over a lot of this, and they can't have it both ways. You either teach us what the Bible says and let us run with it. Now, churches are meant to guide us and help us. That's why God put teachers. There's always been, Jesus was a teacher. He always had prophets. He always had people to help guide us. Mm-hmm. And that's what the church is supposed to do, is help guide us, but they kind of dictate to us.
Yeah, what we should know and what we shouldn't know.
And unless you dig into it, you're not going to see this kind of stuff.
And if you have a good church that tells you, encourages you to learn things on your own, then that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all churches are bad. I hope that I didn't come across that way, but
In her experience,
in my experience,
you don't get this.
this is the kind of thing that was never taught.
Well, and to be quite honest, I love our church.
Yeah.
Our church does great things, and they do, but they still don't teach you everything.
No.
They still don't. I've yet to be at a church personally that touches on sex. Now, there is a organization out there called XO Now. I love these guys. I believe they're down in Texas.
They are.
They have a couple that have a podcast of their own.
Ashley and
Yeah. I can't, Mark
no,
and Ashley?
is it Mark and Ashley?
But they talk about sex, and I love it. I think it's great. I'm glad they're
Yeah.
doing it. But their whole ministry, that whole ministry called XO Now, is nothing but focused on marriage, and they don't shy away from anything.
No.
Jimmy Evans is the leader, and man, we support them financially. They're great. So if you got some questions, check them out too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
They'll give you lots of information.
yeah, and they do talk
we
about
don't know.
sex. You know, they talk about masturbation. They talk about other things. Now, a lot of the stuff they talk about, they'll even tell you that, the Bible doesn't really, it's not one way or the other on this. So, but yeah, check them out. You'll like them.
What's the next one?
So yeah, Abraham had multiple wives, multiple concubines, sent his sons away from Isaac, which I'm not quite sure why he did that, but he did it. I'm gonna say, Theo, you're up. Why would Abraham send his concubines and their sons away from Isaac?
I wonder if that's so that.
So there was no infighting, maybe?
No, I don't see it that way. I see him as them going and creating their own.
Their own thing.
Yeah, their own
Well,
thing.
because Isaac was the one that God promised
Right.
would be, the father of nations.
Right, and I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't see, but I don't know that the brothers would like infight.
Well,
I
he
think
left,
it was more to.
Abraham left everything to Isaac.
Right.
So that you can't tell me they ain't gonna tick somebody off.
Right. I think that it's more of a to scatter
His seed.
his seed more across
It's possible.
the nation.
We'll see if Theo lets us know. Theo.
Let me know if I'm right.
All right. So we're going to jump to Genesis 26. And we're going to jump all the way down to verse 34 and 35.
Ooh, that's a biggie. Oh.
That's a biggie.
I mean,
What's
never
a
mind.
biggie?
It's only 35. I was wrong.
Oh.
Because I just kept scrolling and kept scrolling.
Okay. So this is dealing with Jacob and
Oh boy.
Esau. There was some infighting there. I mean, you talk about family drama. Whew. We're not going to touch about that, or that's not what this podcast is about. We're going to talk about sex, marriages, relationships. That's what this is about.
Well, relationships, that's family drama.
Yeah, but it's not. Anyway.
Anyway.
So when Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and also Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. So, and they were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah.
Ooh.
I don't know why they put that in there,
Because they
but
don't elaborate.
maybe because they were Hittites. I don't know.
Oh, could be.
But right away, Esau, 2 wives. Right?
I hope they liked each other.
Well, they better have. I mean, if you're gonna have multiple women in your life, you better all get along. It's not pretty when you don't get along.
Nope. That's
It
why
is
it's
not pretty at all.
really rough when the mother-in-law moves in.
Yeah, well, that's not. Why you always gotta make something
I'm just saying.
family drama.
Family drama. 8.
So again,
Would you like a drink, Master?
well, multiple wives.
you
Sure.
tickle?
Yeah. So now we're gonna jump to Genesis 28. This is not like product placement. I don't get any money for this.
It's just the preferred drink at the moment.
Yeah, it just is something. Usually I drink water, but I've been
You know,
having me a Kooky Cola.
sometimes you just need to have the sugar.
Yeah. So now on Genesis 28,
Where are we heading?
we're going to go to verse 2.
Oh, not very far. Okie dokie.
So, and now some of these, I did this a long time ago, so sometimes I don't quite remember why I put these in here. So if I stall for a minute, it's because I'm trying to read ahead and say, okay, why am I reading this? Because I try to research this way ahead of time. I don't want to just try to do it and then get it in here. You know what I mean? So,
You silly.
so this is go at once, go at once to Paddan Aram, which is a town in back in the day, to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. So, go to your house of your mother's father.
Well,
so
first-
go to your grandpa's house.
This is Isaac telling Jacob
Right.
to go.
Isaac is telling Jacob, his son, go to your grandpa's house.
Because he didn't want him to marry a Canaanite.
Right. But he's saying, go to your grandpa's house, find your uncle, and marry your cousin. And then have God bless you and be fruitful. So
That's a first cousin.
that's a first cousin. Thank you. And this is what he's instructing him to do, is go find your first cousins, pick one, and bang the crap out of her.
Well, that is not legal these days that I'm aware of
No.
in most states.
Well, maybe in the state of intoxication. I don't know.
I mean,
but,
there's been some of that.
But I
Sleeping
mean,
with your dad and all that
yeah.
stuff, you know.
oh, let's go get pregnant by daddy.
Yeah.
But it never said it was wrong. This is what I'm saying. So now Isaac is instructing his son to go find his cousin
And have lots of babies.
and have lots of babies with her until you become a community of peoples. Now, here's the other thing. The world was not vastly populated back then.
That is true.
Also, something to consider is back then, there's a lot of wars going on. Men were a commodity back then.
Yeah.
You know, I read somewhere, and this was years ago, it was probably when I was in high school, which was like 6-7 years ago, that at one point in time, it was like women outnumbered men almost like 50-1. So that, and I could be remembering that number wrong, but it was some astronomical number because men died in wars. So maybe that was God saying, okay, I understand that we're kind of, supply and demand. We're running a little short on penises
Yeah.
here. So y'all going to have to share.
Oof.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
Could
just,
be.
I mean, even today, I was reading a few months ago, we got to talking about it. Men are still outnumbered by like 3-1 or something like that. The numbers are getting closer and closer, but we're not having as many, catastrophic wars. And you got to remember back then, if 10,000 males died, it was a lot different than nowadays. Where 10,000, we got 8 billion people on this planet. 10,000 guys dying is, it's
Still
a
a
tragedy,
tragedy.
but numerically and statistically, it's a drop in the bucket. Back then, 10,000 guys, that might be 10% of your population, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole different time, and I'm sure Theo can verify. Theo, if you want to touch on that one, great. We appreciate it.
we should probably do this next one since it's in the same and then wrap it up.
Okay, we can do that. So we will do one more section, and then we'll call this episode Gouda.
Good.
Gouda. Not Gooch. Gouda.
Oh,
Okay, so in the same chapter, Genesis 28, we're going to go down to verse 8 and 9.
yeah. You want to talk about some family drama?
You want to read
and
this
some
one?
spitting in your face. So this particular passage is talking about Esau.
Who went and got his first cousin?
Oh,
Or was that Jacob?
no, that was
Oh,
Jacob.
that was Jacob. Okay,
Esau
now we're talking about
is
Esau.
the one who is like
Oh, he-
spiteful.
He's the one who went and got 2 wives from the Hittites. Isn't he? Let's look at that last.
I don't know that it's Hittites.
Yeah, Esau was 40 and went and grabbed 2 Hittite chicks.
Oh,
And they were trouble to him. Remember?
well, that's really weird because here,
Let's
Now-
read it, kitten. Tell me a story.
I'll tell you a story.
Tell me a story.
When Esau heard his father tell Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and had gone to Padan Aram, Esau then realized how displeasing the Canaanite women were to his father Isaac. So he went to Ishmael and married Mahalath,
Mahalath,
the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Ishmael, son of Abraham, in addition to the wives he already had. So now he's got Hittites and Canaanites.
So basically, he's saying, "Screw you, Dad.
Yeah.
I'll do what I want."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that, like, nowadays, some families can say, oh, no, you're not marrying that girl or boy. I would imagine that they would have that same type of power back then. I mean...
Well, especially since I think a lot of marriages back then were arranged.
Yeah.
You know? But they're not showing that in here.
They're not showing that in here.
They're giving them choice. I mean, they're kind of arranged. You know,
Some
go
are,
pick
some
from that group.
Right. Go find you a wife. But I just... What
Disrespectful little kid.
Yeah. I mean, the word coming to my mind is brat, but...
Yeah. I know, right?
Wow. Just because he heard his dad, he's just like, yeah, okay, that's my next wife.
Well, maybe he was hoping that she'd be better than the two he had.
I mean, there's that, but dang.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's like soap operas, man.
Right.
You know?
Who knew?
I think the people who write soap operas just go and read stories in the Bible and use them as their storylines.
That's very possible.
All right, so we've been yapping your ears off long enough, so we're going to cut this episode now. And
before we get too giddy.
Before I get too... Before our producer has a conniption.
Yeah.
So, until next time, I think we're good, and we'll talk to you later. So take care of yourself. Oh, what?
Don't forget.
What did I forget?
You're supposed to remind them. If you like what we're doing, then hit subscribe, hit the little bell, so it'll remind you or let you know the next time we have an episode.
Hit the like. Give us a like, too.
Likes, comments are welcome. And we have an email at the Kinky Christian Podcast @gmail.com.
And we got a Facebook page, the Kinky Christian Podcast on Facebook. We're going to try to start doing what I want to start doing. I want to start doing some reels. So you might start seeing some reels on YouTube and Facebook to give you maybe some behind the scenes stuff.
You don't want to see that.
And maybe some of us, our daily lives, so you can get to know us as people too. So yeah.
Our daily lives are boring.
Well, I mean, they're boring, but maybe
Anyway.
Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and God bless. Thanks.